Hi, my name is Michelle Fields, and I'll be presenting a speech on vaccinations. Vaccinations has been a controversial concept over the recent years. Studies have proven that vaccinations can be helpful, but at the same time can be harmful. In the olden days, there were no vaccinations, and people were living long, fruitful lives. Children were exposed to bacteria, viruses, and other pathogens that allowed their body to build up their immune system. Nowadays, children aren't allowed to play in the dirt. They're not allowed to get their hands dirty. They are being homeschooled. They're not exposed to different viruses. They're not exposed to different bacteria. Their body is not building up that immunity that it needs to survive these illnesses. Once an antigen invades an unexposed child, their body goes into a state of shock, and they're trying to defend themselves. They're trying to build that immunity to fight off that antigen or that bacteria. Yes, it is true. Vaccinations do have their risk, as do any other medications that are on the market. Everything runs a risk. Everything that is not natural, not formed innately in your body, has a risk. However, the benefits potentially outweigh those risks. The fact that some parents actually decide to not vaccinate their children put other children's lives at risk when they are going to a public or even a private school. Let's do a little history on vaccinations. Vaccinations were first discovered by Dr. Edward Jenner in 1796 when he inoculated a 13-year-old boy with the cowpox virus, making him immune to the smallpox virus. Dr. Jenner took specimens from the affected person's arm and inoculated an uninfected person with the virus. This process was called arm to arm. Closely following the test subjects, Dr. Jenner noted that the unaffected person developed an immunity to the disease when exposed to that antigen. Soon after, in 1798, the very first vaccination, the smallpox vaccination, was officially introduced to the world. Before the term vaccination was developed, this inoculation process was called variolation. Variolation is the deliberate inoculation of an uninfected person with the smallpox virus. In 1802, Dr. Jean de Caro challenged the government, stating that inoculation should be completely terminated. In his words, he stated, "It is inconsistent for a government to encourage vaccination and not forbid inoculation." What does this mean? We're encouraging you to be vaccinated. We're encouraging you to allow us to put this virus into your body, but at the same time, the term inoculation means merely the same thing. I'm going to put this live virus from someone else's body into your arm. This is the same thing. So what was it that he was really trying to say to us? Was he trying to warn us? This is things that we have to take into consideration. This was among the first of many efforts to encourage vaccination over variolation for its approved success and safety. Massachusetts became the first state to endorse vaccinations, successfully vaccinating 19 volunteers against the smallpox virus. Dr. Waterhouse retained monopoly over this vaccine. He was one of the doctors that were in Massachusetts. He refused to share his supplies with other states. All of the physicians began to inject an active virus into unaffected persons. This was their way of trying to vaccinate people in their communities because Dr. Waterhouse wouldn't share it. Once they started doing this, injecting this live virus into people, thousands of people started to die. It was numerous people before he actually realized that he needed to share this virus with the world. Upon hearing of these deaths, Dr. Waterhouse did finally make the decision to share his supplies. In 1852, the first law was passed mandating school children to be vaccinated in order to attend public schools. In 1879, the very first laboratory vaccination was developed by William Pasteur. Using a weakened virus exposed to oxygen, Dr. Pasteur injected the virus into chickens without any active infections being noted. This is where the live virus vaccinations were derived. According to a study by procon.org, most childhood vaccinations are 90 to 99% effective in preventing disease. According to Shot at Life, a United Nations Foundation partner organization, approximately 2.5 billion children are saved from preventable diseases every year. The CDC estimates that 732,000 American children were saved from death and 322 million cases of childhood illnesses were prevented between 1994 and 2014 due to vaccination. The measles vaccine has decreased childhood deaths from measles by 74%. That's huge. That's a huge percentage. There's a term coined herd immunity that refers to the safety of the community as it relates to immunizations. In another study published by procon.org, herd immunity means that when a critical portion, the percentage of the people who need to be vaccinated to provide immunity of a population is vaccinated against a contagious disease, it is unlikely that an outbreak of the disease will occur, so most members of the community will be protected. So in other words, if we encourage a community, a large part of the community, to be vaccinated, it's highly unlikely that there will be an outbreak of that disease in that area. These are one of the good things about getting vaccinations. You kind of limit how the disease process progresses, the areas that it reaches. You can see the difference in the areas that do get vaccines and the areas that don't. In the third world countries where diseases and viruses run rampant because they don't have access to these vaccinations, and in the Western countries, the Western civilizations where we have access to these vaccines, and we don't see the outbreaks of malaria, we don't see the outbreaks of measles, we don't see that here because we do practice getting our kids and some adults still get vaccinations. We get booster vaccinations. In most public and private schools, immunizations have become a requirement for attendance. Immunizations have become such a crucial part of life that most employers, especially in the healthcare market, require certain immunizations. According to the CDC, all immunizations carry the risk of severe and even fatal side effects. A severe reaction called anaphylaxis is said to only occur in 1 to 1 million people. It has been reported by the National Vaccine Information Center that some vaccinations are linked to asthma, diabetes, autism, learning disabilities, and other chronic illnesses. There are many religions that frown upon vaccinations as a religious belief. By enforcing immunizations, many people lose their right to practice their religious beliefs. According to the Church of Illumination, the teachings of the Church unequivocally affirm that injections of vaccines and inoculations are violations of the biblical teaching. Immunizations and vaccinations are a form of blood pollution because they have devastating effects on the regeneration of the soul that each church member seeks to attain. Vaccines are beneficial for the general public in that it has been found that vaccines save approximately $1.38 trillion in medical costs. That's huge. In today's day, the value of a dollar is limited. So to save $1.38 trillion in medical costs is huge. That's a huge cost. According to UNICEF, an additional $6.2 billion could be saved if vaccinations were more readily available to third world countries where disease, pollution, and malnutrition run rampant. While reviewing the history of vaccinations, it has been proven that vaccinations yield significant health benefits when administered properly. However, history has proven the benefits of vaccinations through the eradication of polio in 1994, the significant reduction of measles in 2000 and up to 2009. No cases of diphtheria have been reported in the previous 5 years. As science continues to evolve and new methods are discovered, one day vaccinations will help to prevent illnesses caused by many viruses. However, as these vaccinations are developed and there are documented cases of reactions, people continue to make the decision against vaccinations. Due to the close correlation of illness onset and vaccination administration, people are quick to assume that the illness is caused because of the vaccination. This is not always the case. There are many factors that are considered when exploring the causative agent of illness. Receiving a vaccine around the time of onset, in my opinion, is merely a coincidence. It is the opinion of this writer that vaccinations hold more benefits than risks when one child is compared to the world. Parents should be armed with the necessary information to make an educated decision when it comes to vaccinations. Parents should consider the safety of their homes, the general public, their religious beliefs, and the belief of vaccinations and the risks of vaccination, the benefits of vaccinations and the risks of vaccinations. Taking responsibility for the choice that could save their own child's life or harm someone else's if not given the correct attention. So with this speech, I want you to take away taking the time to educate yourself on the benefits and the risks of vaccinations. Yes, there are some risks. Yes, there are some benefits. You have to weigh your options. You have to see what are you willing to put your child, your household, and your life at risk for, and see where you stand on it. Make an educated decision. Don't make an educated guess. Arm yourself with the education and the knowledge that you need to make that decision to save your life and possibly the life of someone else's. Thank you.